Okay, everyone. We have a couple of minutes left, and so there are some seats up here in the front. This is, they have the seats over here, a couple of front over here. Actually, I want to recognize Rebecca Reeves. She was so instrumental in helping us for everything in passports, and it's good to see you. All right, we still have some seats up front. Otherwise, we will begin. Okay, I really do appreciate all of you coming out tonight. And I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and enjoying the holiday season. We've got the Christmas trees here, and the ladies of the lake are doing some events, breakfast with Santa. So a lot to be cookies with Santa. Thank you. Thank you. So a lot of things to be thankful for to live in this community. So right now, again, we are here for the Camden Lake special assessment due to the dam. Ready. All right, before we get into that, I'm not sure if all of you received a mysterious letter in the mail. We got ours on Saturday, dated October 31st, 2025. And this is from CMU. What I'm going to ask y'all to do tomorrow, I just spoke with our attorneys today as well. Basically, they want us to go away. And because, the fervor of everything, everybody gets all excited, and then it's, as everything happens, wax and wanes. But anybody that's able to, please go tomorrow. That's Tuesday, December 2nd at 10 a.m. And it's at the Public Service Commission hearing room, first floor of the Woolfolk State Office building. We need your body there. As y'all know, that they had denied our request both in November and in December to be on the docket, basically the agenda. So all of a sudden then on Sunday, we pop up on the agenda. So I think that is because of your voices, and I do appreciate that. I personally cannot, I'll have to be on a plane going for work, but we do need everybody that's able to, just for them to know that we are not going away, and we need our case heard. Most likely, we will be appealing this to the Mississippi State Supreme Court because we have valid arguments on both the rates, the water, the sewage, and the representation. So those are the four things that we continue to anchor on, and I want y'all to please go out if you can tomorrow. Just keep up the noise, okay? And we still have a couple of seats up here on the front left if anybody would like to join us. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. The agenda for the evening, and y'all have seen this, I hope, in the news notes and on the private Lake Caroline bulletin board. Again, I shout out, please join both of these. There are so many things going on right now where we ask for your input. We need your input. Our community is about you. So tonight we'll just go, we have some special guests. We'll talk about the history of Camden Lake, special assessment, and what happens next, all right? And so for our special guest, Willie should be probably driving up any minute. Willie McKurcher is with Mississippi DEQ. He has been a friend of, he has been someone very nice to work with because he has seen this Camden Dam situation happen from the beginning. So we want to make sure that this happens when he is on his own watch there at DEQ. We also have Shannon Wells, and if you don't mind, stand up real quick. He's one of our own, and he works with Garver Engineering. I did learn this too. This project is pretty small for Garver's scope. So we have the right people on this project. We also have Paul McPhail, who I didn't realize was a superstar in the construction business in the Mid-South. So he's a CEO, and so we have the right brains there that need to push this forward. The time is right, and that's why we need all of y'all. So what we'll do with the special guest is, we have a presentation during the question and answer session. I would like for y'all to just, we have some pre-submitted question and answers, and then we'll go from there, okay? Okay. So where are we? And this slide says it in a nutshell. This is they call it the primary spillway, the standpipe. This is what was put in Camden Dam approximately 36 years ago. This was definitely something that was standard at the time. There was one over at the fishing lake. There was one at Catherine Lake. So it has outlived its lifespan. It's that simple. The lifespan's 25 years. Now we have to remedy this because Camden Dam is a high hazard dam, and there is a lot of flood and honestly catastrophic events could happen. Perchance this were to breach and to not hold up. The estimated cost is $200,000, and Paul will talk about where that number came. $2 million. And Paul will talk about where that number came from. One piece of good news as well is that we can decommission the pipe that's there, and this will be for a new pipe. And we also have a potential for a grant of $300,000. Let me just talk about that real quick. So the potential timeline, if the special assessment is passed, we want to go for this grant. We will go for the grant for each one of us. The state legislature decides if their grant monies are going to be given out in the spring. And after that, Mississippi DEQ decides, they have the funding, we will have our plans ready for construction, and we will apply for a grant. So that's the first thing I want just everybody to know. A lot of questions. We have missed some timelines in previous past because our construction plans were not ready. We are ready this year, and we want to move forward. A picture is worth 1,000 words. This I took of Arrington, right down the road, and this is reality. If we do not fix Camden Dam, Mississippi DEQ will be forced to drain our lake, to decommission and drain our lake. That is, we don't have an option. What's going to happen realistically? The community will have a black eye. We're fighting against CMU. On this, people will just say there's a lake that's going to be drained at Lake Caroline. They're not going to say it's the 69-acre lake that's on the other side. They think all of Lake Caroline. Camden Dam is an integral part of our community. It is all of us. We have Catherine, we have the quote-unquote fishing lake. We are all part of this community together. I do think property values could decrease, just having that seed of doubt, and we do not want to plant that. There are also some legal challenges. What happens if we do not remedy this? Some of the homeowners at Camden could take legal action if they wanted. There's also some things that we'll be held liable for. Okay. Again, this is just an overview of what has happened and how did we get here. Camden Lake was built in 1989. It was transferred from LCI to LCOA in 2016. The classification was increased to high hazard due to the building. And y'all, not just to the building that's right there by and on Camden, but it goes downstream as far as Highway 22, okay? That's important to know. It is not just those 5 or 6 homes. This is a large area in Watershed 5 that this also affects. We have had the dam inspected. So you have a formal inspection and then informal inspections. We have maintained this and have records on it. Nothing has been out of compliance. We've continued to move forward, and now it's the metal corrugated pipe, as well as the emergency spillway, but that's where we are now. So it is our obligation to fix this. Okay, thank you. 2016, a couple of months after we took it over. But look, I'm gonna tell you. Hold on just a second. We're gonna hold that. We're gonna hold all that for the end because that was. If you read our covenants, okay, and I really want y'all to read our covenants, that the developers give green space to Lake Caroline Owners Association. That was in accord. Nothing was out of line. And so that was over 10 years ago. I'll tell you, yes, there's some frustrations for different, sitting around, well, why not this? Why not that? Right now, if we do not fix this, they will drain Camden Lake. And that's really what I want us to anchor on. And let's hold the questions till the end and we will address those. And actually Shannon's here as well because he's been on the project for a long time. So you see it was originally constructed. The primary spillway is that red, the reddish line. We're going to change that and make it a little bit closer, hopefully more efficient, to drain all of that in case there is the, I'm sorry, sir. It's in the master PUD. It's in the master PUD, just like Sundown, just like all the Camdens, all of that is in the master plan. We don't have to vote. Okay, so here's go. The dam was reclassified, high hazard. And this is just some interesting information. And also, I hope it helps on why this may cost so much. So the length of the dam's 1,500, the height 0 to 27, normal pool. And I do want y'all to know, living at Camden, our goal is to retain and push this back to full pool. And Paul and there's Willie, has worked to try to have some remedies for that. And I do want to introduce Willie McKurcher here from Mississippi DEQ. Here's a place up here. Yeah. And I mean, how big is it? I thought this was interesting. It's 69 acres. Okay. I'm ready. This is what we're looking at. So you know how the dam here is pretty small, Fishing Lake even smaller with the road. Look at the width of this thing, and that is your infamous primary standpipe spillway, okay? And now I'm going to bring up, for the most fun part, Paul McPhail will be talking about compliance, why this is necessary, as well as the construction. So he'll go into that, and I'll come back for special assessment.
Thank you, Allison. Did you all hear my wife laugh when she called me a star? MDEQ has the responsibility of monitoring all of the dams in the state. And they also have the authority to force dam owners to bring those dams into compliance. The day that we received notice that Camden Dam was out of compliance, Camden Dam became a serious problem for all of us because we own it. We own that dam, and as dam ownership is a serious and potentially dangerous business. Because if you own the dam, then you own the liability associated with the dam. And it is essential that we, the owners of the dam, establish some minimum standard of care in order to protect ourselves against any liability associated with that dam. That minimum, standard of care begins with adhering to DEQ's regulations. Now, these last 9 months or so, Department, Garver Engineering, members of the board, we've all been addressing this, focusing on, what are the things that we have to do? What are the things that we can do? And how do we minimize costs, and how do we minimize the inconveniences? And what we've settled on here is that we must replace the primary spillway and the primary spillway outlet through the dam. Next slide. Okay, the critical path of our timeline runs through June 1 of 2026, and the weather that we typically see at this time of the year. Now, we've been in discussions with DEQ, and DEQ has informed us that in order to make grant application, we have to have RFC documents by June 1. RFC is ready for construction. That's where Shannon comes in. Further, the constraints on that money, it must be spent within a finite period of time, really tightens up our timeline. We only have so much time to spend it. And of course, naturally, we want to seize the spring rains of 2027 to refill the lake. So what that means is that we need to hit the fall construction season of 2026. And because of the speed at which we must now proceed, the board has already engaged Burns Cooley Dennis to perform the geotechnical duties. We've already hired Garver to go ahead and bring it to final design and to create RFP documents. So those things are happening, all so that we can hit this opportunity to get a grant from DEQ. Let me address the estimate. Garver has been good enough to provide us with what we in the industry call an OPCC. That is an opinion of probable construction costs. It's just an estimate, and it is an estimate based on the information that we have, based on the information they have. And so as we talk to you today about what it cost, that's coming from the very best information that we have today. Now, finally, let me address the contractor and the method of delivery, okay? I know there are some questions about that. Until such time as we have the funding in place, our discussions with contractors can only be on a very, very preliminary level. Now, if the special assessment is approved, those conversations, or the intensity thereof, is going to increase dramatically. So that's the status of picking a contractor. But let me go further by talking about the delivery method. There was a desire, certainly on my part anyway, to push this through design build. The grant process is not going to allow that. Grant process requires RFC in order to apply. And so design build is off the table. So while we are continuing to evaluate other options with regards to delivery, it appears that this is probably going to go to an open lowest and best bid scenario.
And Paul will come back up for questions in the end as well. So now, how do we fund this? At this point, we've talked about 3 different options. Again, this is just information talk. We want everybody here, as well as others, to decide what our options are. This is not the board saying you have option 1, 2, or 3. This is what we want y'all to tell us what you want, okay? So the potentials are, realistically, option one, address the Camden Dam situation only. Some people have said, so if we're having a special assessment, and I just want to tell y'all, this is the first time in Lake Caroline history that we have had a request for a special assessment. We've never had anything this big. So we have financial stewardship and we continue to save and put back, but a potential 2 million is not something that you take lightly. So we do not need to drain our funds for things that, like we say, we barely keep the lights on. So that is the main reason for these options as well. So option two, dam repair. And then people have said, you know what, while we're doing this, we need to, and I'm going to go through this in a second a little bit more, so just go for there. Option three, I don't want to pay for any of it. Let them drain the dam. So option one, it is what it is. We spend the 2 million, an estimated 2 million, and we are projecting at $850 to $950 per lot. And again, we will know more of this when Burns Cooley Dennis gives their geotech. When Garver comes back, we will have this already ready for y'all in probably February, definitely by March when we vote. But we want to give you the best estimates so you can wrap your mind and give us your feedback. Option two, I call it the Camden Lake Primary Spillway Plus. And I think it was this year earlier, there was a survey done. What do y'all want to do? Where should we try to spend any money or put, if we had any extra, what is important to you? And those are the results. So what we did is we went straight down the line. The dam, the lake, the 600,000 for a huge chunk of dredging that would affect quite a few of homes. The pool, and Lord have mercy, splash pad. I had no idea a splash pad would cause such a ruckus. But the reason that was out there and even suggested too is it's a lot less expensive than a pool. And we wanted an amenity more for the Camden area and for the small children over there. Again, these are just things that were brought up. They were brought up with the survey, okay? The park, some drainage improvements in playground, et cetera. Landscape, walking trail, possibly over at Martinique. And that was an asphalt trail at, I'm just gonna say almost 100,000. This clubhouse looks great. We also want to improve Martinique. It needs some love. We just kind of put out 100,000 and on that. Those are some estimates that we have looked at, but again, this will be decided by y'all. We want your feedback. And now option three, no funding, don't want to spend any extra money. And then unfortunately, Mississippi DEQ, they're not doing it to us. They will be doing it because we've decided not to fund a special assessment to fix the spillway. And we might have to get rid of the lake. So one thing too on that, somebody asked me, was that what they got in the mail for the special assessment? And it was not. That was your assessment that we mailed them early because, you know, we have a lot of multiple options for payment now. You can do 1, 2, 12, however you want to set it up with Carson in the office through Nickel. So that letter that y'all received went out early to talk about our traditional assessment dues. And you know, they were pushed back until March because that's what people ask for, to push them away from Christmas. So I want to make sure that to clarify, that was not a special assessment. No one has voted on this yet. The voting requirements from our covenants and bylaws, 67% of the people have to vote. That's a tall order. But I hope that, you know, I hope that we can make this happen. The voting process, the meeting in our covenants, it has to be a special meeting for the special assessment. It will happen right after our annual meeting. We'll close the annual meeting. We'll open the special assessment meeting. Any of the proxy guidelines and quorum requirements will go with the covenants. because again, this is the first time Lake Caroline has experienced this. We have hired an attorney that we've not done work with from Brunini that will look at our covenants, bylaws to make sure everything we do cannot be questioned, and we are by every letter of the law on this. And we really need y'all. I know we hustle for proxies, and it's to help save money because we can have a second meeting, et cetera. But this is important, and we really need everybody to have an active part in this. Okay, I'm just going to go forward just a minute. Yeah. We did get some pre-submitted questions, which we'll talk about those, and then some questions from the floor. And then one more, because I don't want to go back and forth, but the call to action here, it's simple. The metal pipe has to be replaced. If we want to keep Camden Lake, it has to be replaced. If it is not replaced and we don't have the special assessment, it will not be replaced. We will not have Camden Lake. We are having a follow-up meeting, tentatively January 22nd. What we would like to do is make sure these options, option 1, 2, 3, we think it's the best interest, again, at this time, is to put a yes option and a no option. So most likely it'll be option 1 or 2, again, based upon what y'all tell us you want, and then a no option. To divide it 3 ways, we will, the chances we will not get 67%, and that is our goal, okay? I do want to thank some advisory council members for going out and talking to their neighborhood, and they've already given us some feedback. So that's what we need from the advisory council, or contact us. We have a lot of questions. We did post the questions on the bulletin board as well as news notes on some of the things we've received. So, and just leave that up. That's cool thing. So I would like to take this opportunity just to go through, because what were some of the questions? Some of them are duplicates, and we've tried to answer them, but how much will the dam cost? I think Paul answered that. If we get the $300,000 grant and we over collect, what will be done with the extra funds? It's too early for us to really answer that right now. We have a very strong finance committee and treasurer, and we will find those out once we get the final bill in, right? What have we spent so far? $122,000 basically on engineering. We've committed $150,000 for geotech and additional engineering. So basically $275, I'm around it at this point to move forward. So our covenants say this can only be a special assessment for a 1-year period only. So how can we, as we first projected, this is a fluid environment. We thought, well, we'll split the payment 2026, 2027. That's most likely not in compliance. And so we are getting a lawyer to find that out. And besides that, now with these timelines that we have starting to iron out, we'll need the money at the beginning of construction and at the end of the construction, okay? So that's most likely. Again, I say most likely because we are working as fast as we can. It depends on whether this passes or not. Why aren't we using the $1 million set aside for dam repairs? Where did it go? So we did budget the $1 million from reserve when the estimate was lower. One of the questions, I'll just speak to that real quick, was we replaced the primary standpipe at the fishing lake. I think it was around $250,000. It's apples and oranges, very small width. So you just can't even compare those two. So this price went up, as did everything after COVID, right? And now we realize that at a $2 million opinion of probable cost construction for the cost, we don't have that kind of money. So we do need to use a special assessment. Using that $1 million would set aside us to a very dangerous level. The board, the most important thing the board is to make sure that we are fiscally responsible for each one of you, to make sure Lake Caroline is healthy. That's financially healthy is what we are number one charged to do. someone was asking about, what about 5-year, 10-year plan? As you know, this board did look at a reserve study, and it came in. We talked about that at the financial town hall. Please go online and look at that. This is all in accordance with that. We need this money to have a healthy reserve, and the board wants to do the right thing for y'all, and we've chosen 70%. We need a healthy reserve to maintain Lake Caroline. Who's been involved? I think y'all have seen this. It's been fascinating. I've been privileged to learn from Paul and Willie McKurcher, and then Garver Engineering and Shannon. So that's who all's been involved at this point. Every time we learn something, we come back to the board, discuss it, and then I hope you see the news notes and the bulletin board. I'm giving you information every time we find it. One of them says, hey, look, we should not bundle non-essential expenses with a essential expense. And to that, I say thank you for your input. That's what we need. We need to know, do y'all want option 1 or option 2? A question is, in 5 years, assuming 10% increase every year, each household will pay over $9,000 in assessments, will gain $21 million. And what we say to that is there has been no discussion to increase our dues for 10%. Nothing has been proposed for that. We hope not to be able to have to do that. Every time, as y'all know, and this is important background, we did not have an increase for like 14 years. So life gets more expensive. And because of that, we had to go up the 10%, the maximum. That's the maximum allowable as per the covenants. Okay, so we do not perceive that there's no proposal on the table that will continue. Question about a 5-year assessment. That's not in compliance with the covenants because it does state firmly what we should do. And then was there previous news notes or form transcript that explains why Camden Dam is not in compliance or why the developer was given approval if there were deficiencies? We have it, we have talked about that at the town hall and in news notes and bulletin board. Basically, the primary spillway was made from corrugated metal. That was, I guess, common at the time. The lake was not classified at high hazard. Now, because the life of the pipe, it must be replaced. I did want to add something as well, because I started worrying about, well, what happens if we have to replace the big boy over here as well, our main lake. Key Construction did make that primary spillway out of concrete, so we're good on that one. We do not have to come through this again. Can homeowners be guaranteed that any special assessment for Camden Lake Dam repairs will be used exactly for that purpose, especially if a new board is elected? If the special assessment passes, you saw from our projected timeline, we want to get this thing finished by 2026. Ask if the original survey is going to be available for the current dam and emergency spillway. No, but we have Garver and MDEQ here to answer because we're just moving forward. We want to get the dam fixed. We want to try to get it to full pool based upon the construction dynamics of this or the standards for this new pipe. Will people be able to vote against repairing Camden Dam? Yes. Was a grant filed? I feel like we've talked about that. If the assessment is voted against, could the lake be drained? Yes. And that's just no choice. Mississippi DEQ will have to, according to our discussions with Willie, they will have to lower the lake because of the risk and the liability, and then give us a little window to fix it. But there is no option. It will be lowered and kind of decommissioned, I guess. How will voting work at the annual meeting for the special assessment? Will the proxies be cast by the executive director or management agent, and will they be directed by the board? I think for this one, we've talked about the question emphasizes the proxy, quorum, et cetera. We are, again, getting a separate outside counsel to make sure that we do everything just by the covenants. We don't make our own decisions. It's from the covenants and bylaws that which we go. How will residents be assured? There'll be, okay, that, I think we answered that. So at this point, yeah, I would like to open it up. And first, before questions, sorry about that, I would want to know, would you like to, Shannon or Willie, I'm just open, or you want to take some questions? Would y'all like to say anything about the project, or would y'all prefer to a question and answer session? Q&A, okay. Okay. All right. We did receive a letter from the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality that did talk about if we did not. And so we'll have that letter available, and we'll also post it, talking about the primary spillway and auxiliary spillway and the ramifications of such. So we did get that in today. Okay. Questions? Yes, sir. I don't see why not. Yeah, we could do that. It's all public knowledge. Yes, sir. The original report or the letter he just gave us? Is it in one report? Oh, it's all public knowledge because it's a state entity. So yes, everything's public knowledge. We will make that available. Yes, Whit.
Yes, the current solution consists of a corrugated metal pipe with a 25-year lifespan. What about the new solution? What materials will be involved with that? What's the projected lifespan of this new design?
Hey, I'm Shannon Wells. I'm with Garver, and I also have a vested interest. I live in Lake Carolina. I live on the walking track. Typically, when on new construction, we go with steel pipe. Corrugated metal is, and one thing that Allison did mention, she probably didn't know, but MDEQ regulations require, like corrugated metal is not allowed for a high hazard dam or a significant hazard dam for that matter, which is one classification below. So regardless of the lifespan of the riser and the conduit, we need to upgrade the pipe just from that standpoint as well to bring it back into compliance. But generally steel is what we were proposed to go back. But we haven't designed, I mean, it's not designed, but off the cuff, that's what we typically see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a whole different application. That's a tremendous amount of water, sort of.
Even if we have a steel pipe, will last much longer than corrugated steel. At some point down the road, that'll fail also. And so, is it worthwhile considering, hey, just pipe the bullet and replace it with concrete? What would the delta be?
That's generally, I haven't seen a concrete application on a dam this small. Steel's going to last a really long time, and if we have concerns, keep in mind that comes in different thicknesses as well. I mean, if you put I'll let Willie chime in too, but if you put a thicker, an adequate thickness steel pipe, it's going to last a really long time. Like it becomes how far out do you want to build this thing as far as cost? You got to weigh cost benefit. Really long time.
Yeah, really long time. I'll let Shannon hold the mic. I'll just try to talk pretty loud. The lifespan is typically on steel pipe with what we're looking at. We're looking at probably 3 thickness how long that type of gauge. Realistically, what we see right now from construction standards examples across the country, but in the southeast with the cities that we have water, realistically. Like 120 before you start to see erosion. So long way down the road. Yeah, looking at concrete area has some very minor seismic, not typically enough but that's not to say also that there would be a concern if we had something larger than our typical 3 on the Richter scale. We start seeing something in the 5 to 6 range, just out of the blue one day, and there'd be a concern that that would affect that concrete. If that was something through. So in that case, steel is really it's a great option. When you start looking at the comparison of that steel pipe to having to go and put in concrete, where you're talking about for something like this, probably putting in a box culvert.
I think in Latin, the phrase for that is bang for the buck.
Bang for the buck.
So the question for those online, and I apologize for not doing this, was if metal is good, concrete's better, maybe potentially. And that's where Shannon and Willie answered that what we're doing with the thickness of the metal, then that should last at least 150 years. So, yes, sir.
Has there been an inspection of the corrugated pipe or the thickness test, or are we just going off the one 25 years? And chemically, highly hazardous chemical industry, we test things every other year for thickness and corrosion. That testing is done at the pipe, or are we just making the assumption?
Hey, Willie, we're going to repeat the question. So the question is basically, have we had a visual inspection on the thickness of the corrugated metal, and how do we know that it's in good shape or bad shape?
There has been no, I'll let you know. There has been no testing of density testing. Pipe. There has been a pipe, what we call standard pipe video inspection. You just run a camera through and you're looking for areas of corrosion. When that pipe inspection was performed, there were no leaks indicated at the time, but there were signs of corrosion and concern that there could be something that is developing. Now, from the standpoint, and it's in the letter that was sent out November 20th, and that one going through explaining where we would be in the future if this doesn't happen. Of course, like Allison spoke to, there's the concern about trying to get things in place to be in position to apply for grant funding this coming year. Of course, with our grant program, last year was actually supposed to be $2 million allocated by the legislature, and somehow we didn't get to each budget, so there wasn't enough funding in the grant program last year. We are supposed to, at least what we got from the legislature so far, is that there is definitely going to be a intention to make sure that that funding is there this year, and that we have money available. And it's possible it could even be more. And if it is, we have to discuss about the current cap of that $300,000. I know that's something everybody wants to see increase so that there's be less of a financial strain on Lake Carolina Owners Association in terms of being able to address this. All right, so the specifics on the video is that in this case, Lake Carolina needs to be prepared to apply for that grant as soon as we announce the program. That application probably will be due sometime in 2026. At the time that the application receives plans that are some kind of condition that's what I would call in construction industry 90% complete. So there's some minor requests for maybe a few detailed modifications that need to be ready to come. And with that, I also need to know how much is going to cost. So we're going to allocate funds further. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've had, as these cycles come, we've had anywhere from 20 to 40 applicants that are asking, trying to get those funds. And what we've had on those, we've had anywhere from 12 to 20 projects that we've done out of $2 million. So we managed to spread that a long way. We've got a lot of small dams addressed, a lot of those, like I said, much smaller projects. Lake Arrington being an example, down that road. Lake Arrington has funding. Okay.
The YouTube.
All right. Oh, for virtual. Okay. All right. That makes sense there. Lake Arrington is a good example. That's one that they received funding this last cycle, and there's been delays in getting things, getting the final set of plans prepared on that one, but they're actually looking to start construction on that, hopefully within the next 3 months, and they'll get that done and get that one back in, good working order. We all know it's turned into a marshy forest in the meantime, but that's what we're trying to prevent with Camden. Coming back to the pipe condition, if for some reason we're not, Lake Caroline doesn't get an application submitted for this next cycle, what we would start looking at that point would be either just bringing down the lake level. An initial proposal based on some of the calculations that we've run might put that as low as 3 feet down from where it's at now, and continuing to monitor the depth of that pipe and the condition of that pipe. Yeah. So, and then we would continue to monitor the condition of the pipe once you start to see leaks that are coming through based on where we are now. Actually, Shannon, I'm not sure what the time was on the last pipe inspection. I believe it's been 3 to 4 years now since the last one was done. Yeah, 3. Okay. So, I mean, we are getting into a time period where that probably needs to be repeated again to look and see where we are. So we could pick that up. If we do get to a point where we start to see leaks or there is uncontrollable flow that's coming through, either from corroded locations, or not everybody may know how corrugated metal pipe is actually made. It's just a sheet of steel that's run through a machine that gives it that corrugated pattern, and you essentially just spiral it and you weld the seams on those. So where you see a lot of the failures on those corrugated metal pipes, which we've had almost 12 within the last 2 years. So this is something that we see quite regularly, is that those welded seams, if they haven't been appropriately coated in some form of material, whether it's a zinc coating or something else, those are typically the first location that you start to see that corrosion where it completely comes through and the pipe separates. Once the pipe separates, if there's water flowing through, as that water comes through, it starts to carry soil with it. And that soil is what is supposed to be your dam. And so you start to have voids that open within the dam, and it'll create sinkholes, and then it just slowly starts to collapse. And sometimes once we get to that point, it's too late to do anything about it. So that's why we have the concern about making sure that we're trying to keep some of the pressure off of the structure while that's taking place.
Thank you. You might as well stay up. Will you come over here? That way we. Okay. Yes, sir, in the back.
Just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So fixing the pipe, this thing's going to last for 120 years, is that correct?
So the question was, if we fix it, will it last 120 years? That's the pipe.
Roughly estimate.
Yes, that's the rough estimate.
So originally, when the developers put it together, why did they properly make the pipe?
It was.
Because it's probably a cost.
All right, hold on just a second. Hold on.
Quite simply is the cost difference. I mean, corrugated metal pipe is probably 20% of what they would have spent on a steel pipe.
My question is,
Yeah.
why did the developers properly develop it
No.
where it would last 120 years?
That's, I mean, you're going to have to, I hate to say it, ask,
Also, the dam was built in '89. Who knows the reasons? I was in high school, but likely it could have been a low hazard dam. I mean, who knows what it looked like back then? It was all country. There was no development, which the regulations now, even today, will allow corrugated metal pipe to go in a dam that is low hazard classification. But what happens if a developer builds a low hazard classification? It can sit there 10 or 20 years. Someone or a development is constructed downstream, which increases the risk to that dam, causing loss of life, etc. That's what Willie does. They search around and they look for those sort of situations and require the owners of those dams to hire engineers and simulate basically, okay, if this dam breaks, who's in the path, who's in the inundation path, and it upgrades. And that's what probably happened here. Camden was forced to upgrade probably because of Stonebridge down there on Highway 22. So that could have been the case. It may not B, that we were handed a dam that was, deficient. That could have been all that was required at the time.
So possibly Amazon could be in the path of our lake break.
He asked if Amazon was being the past. No, actually the wrong direction. This one, yes. That one, no. If that one were to breach, it would go to 22. Okay. Johnny Barlow. Okay. The question was, we want y'all's opinions on option 1, 2, and 3. I think the best way to keep it more uniform is we'll have a drop down and contact us on just as that. Please give your input on that. That's the most efficient. That's how we were able just to screenshot these and put them in a workable document. The advisory council representative would also be a good way. I know on Bridgewater, like Terry Taylor, Paulette, different people did surveys of their neighborhood in Martinique as well. And I'm missing one more, but I appreciate everybody on the advisory council talking to their neighbors. But definitely by January, probably the mid-January, because we're going to have that next follow-up meeting where everything else and Christmas is going to happen. But that's when we really get down to the nitty-gritty on what is the vote, how many are on the ballot, how many options are on the ballot. Yes, Southern Mississippi. That's actually what we discussed last night. We had a like a prep board meeting, and we're trying to figure out how that actually works, and if we could do a ballot just like that, because our goal is the 67% for the dam. Everything else will be gravy. But actually, Brian Weezy over here said, well, what if we tweak it this way? But the main goal is to get the 67 for at least option 1. So we are looking into that. But thank you for that. According to the covenants, we're looking into whether it's the entire membership or the people at the meeting. And that's what we're doing. We're seeking legal counsel just to make sure that we know exactly. Again, this is the first time special assessments ever happen. Is that cool? Yes. Mr. Broom. Yes, sir.
What is being done with the builders who are still allowing the mud runoff?
Oh, I've got that one. Me. Okay, the question was, if you don't mind, that was a win. So the question is, what is being done for the builders that still allow runoff into Camden Dam? So we've had, there are two different parts to it. One, if there's a builder that needs a silt fence up, then, we did just hire someone else for violations who's going around and making sure those are put up correctly, and then violations if they're not. Okay, for that one, we did have Thornsbury, right. So we did have a mediation, and there was a donation of $15,000 to Lake Caroline because of that. And that would be, it was figured anywhere from 25, let me say average of 25 dump trucks of silt out of the lake that could have potentially been dumped in. We have worked on that, and we finally just, 2 weeks ago or so, finally got a resolution for that. So we have dredging on those plans. The next big dredging, this is all proposal. Actually, if we don't pass the special assessment, where everything would be pushed back. But if we do pass the special assessment, then taking care of other amenities will continue as projected. The next big dredging would be, and I wish we had the map out here, the huge area that's affected. No, that is part, like, I think, section 3. That'll be the next 2 times from now, so. We do realize that. Right. We do realize that. That's kind of the point too, I know.
Wasn't the dredging already approved of at a meeting over in Bellevue? That I was at?
I know we've,
It wasn't you, it was the other man.
oh, so the question was the dredging for Camden already approved at a meeting at Martinique with the former executive director? No, in our plan, and I know that we have publicized it, and we'll do it again. Thank you for that, if y'all don't make sure that we do this again. So number 1, dredging was the smaller amount, because we wanted to make sure it worked. That was done, check. Number 2 is over there by the marina in all this area, Camden Cove it's called, and all up here. That is the big boy. That's where we want to move the silt from that area into the deep area of the lake. And that's where it's 20 feet right now. Besides the funding, the permit has not been granted even to move dirt from our own lake from one side to the other, but that is in the permitting process. That'd be number 2. Camden would, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4, but that it is in that. Yes, sir. They donated $15,000 to Lake Caroline. Gotten the check yet? We have not received the check, but it is a legal matter, and yes. We'll check on it. I don't remember, was it December the 9th? I mean, November the 9th, 10th? 19th. So we're not going to let it go, Jack. We've fought and chased this thing for a year down the road. We're going to get every penny of the 15,000, I can promise you. So the question was, I'm sorry, when would the check be in the mail? We're not going to let it go. And what was the other thing? We will get back on that then. Yep, we'll get back on it. In fact, we have somebody from DEQ here that could talk to his people and tell his people to come look at it again. So yeah, seriously. I know. Okay. So another dam question? Yes, sir. Sorry. Do you want to speak to that? So I'm sorry, that's my pet peeve of not repeating questions that I'm doing it. So the question is, well, the question is, when are we going to receive bids?
We need to be under construction in July. And so this is really going to happen perhaps before we even know whether or not we're going to get approval for the grant. But in order to maximize our time, I think we have to have a contractor chosen in the month of July and allow him to be under construction in August. So he'll have that 3-month window and hopefully deliver it again in time for spring rains.
Good. Yes, sir.
If I could have misunderstood, but as I understood is the special assessment option 1 was to possibly receive up to $2 million, be able to rebuild the drain, basically what I'll call it. And then there was a statement in there that said something about an amount per household or per lot, I believe is what it said. My question is, does that per lot pertain to only those who have homes or all lots based on people who may be hoping to build in the future?
Sure, good question. So the question was, with any of option 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. So if we are asking for money from I called it a lot, because it is per lot, And every assessment has to be equally, like if you live on a lake, you're not going to pay more that you live on a lake. It has to be, assessment has to be equally divided. So yes, does that answer the question? The question was, is it every lot? And the answer is yes. And the assessments will be equal regardless of where you live. Correct. Yeah, because if you don't build on it still, you're still paying your yearly assessment. The question was, if you just have a vacant lot, but it's the owner and you still pay your yearly assessment regardless of if you have a structure on it or not. Yeah, it's defined in the bylaws and the covenants. The developer and the builders have a different percentage, 45 and, it was 45 and 15, 25 and 15. That was in the, all right, so the question was, what percentage do the developers and builders pay? And that is defined, again, please read our covenants and bylaws. Everything is defined in that, and it was established in 1988 or 89. 20, how many lots do we have? As 2370. No, some of the properties, so the question was, I'm not sure where the 2,700 came from. Do we have 2,700 lots? What is projected in the plat and the PUD? So for instance, there's some property over there by Whispering Pines that is going to be developed, right? It was just, it just went before, I guess probably the Board of Supervisors or zoning, where they now have the individual homes, that are platted. And there's another piece, Part B, where it's just land, and those don't have individuals already. So it's depending on when they are platted and presented to the county. Right. You know what you said is so true, because her concern was when I came in here, I thought it was the big Lake Caroline, not a 69-acre Camden Lake. And that is really what, no, it's just the opposite. No. No, and that's my fear, is the perception. One of the slides talked about the perception and the reputation of a community. So you live here, you heard Lake Caroline, and I guarantee you other people, much less if they don't live here, are going to hear Lake Caroline's being dredged. So, it does, every lake is important. Camden Lake's important, Lake Caroline's important, but I do think that people will hear it's Lake Caroline. Because most people don't know that there are more than, that we have like 3 lakes. Okay, anybody else? Yes, in the back. So the question is, in 2025, the estimate was 1 million, and actually either one of y'all. That's exactly, and no, I do, the question was, we were told, the people were told it was 1 million, and now we're looking at 2 million. And I would like for them to also weigh in on that as far as a different construction. And I also think we were most likely misinformed. So which one of y'all? For the construction part. The question is, what is the class of estimate? What do you mean?
The current OPCC is based on a 30. Yes.
Y'all want to tell us what that means? What does it mean? Okay. What does it mean, Paul? Come on. So the question was that the current OPC. Do it. It's 30%.
Oh, okay. The OPCC that we have now is based on a 30% design that was created by the H&H department of Garver, not structural, hydraulic, and it was based upon the information that we had at the time. Now, since that OPCC came out, again, based on a 30% design, we have made certain moves relative to this structure. We have moved it out into the lake, or rather, I guess that would be in a western direction, in order to shorten up that pipe that goes through the dam. But that's the pipe that must be steel. That's the long run. That's the costly pipe. So we've shortened that up. We've entered into a lot of conversations on a design scale as to how do we raise the footprint of it up. Now, what's important with that is it gives us some options for backing it into the dam, which limits the amount of cofferdam that we have to build around it. Okay, so all of these things are still moving, all right, but everything is moving towards reducing the cost, not adding to the cost. We feel confident in 2 million today. We feel confident in that. We also feel optimistic that price might be coming down slightly. But to share that with you, to make that what we're talking about today would be an injustice, because what we know is 2 million. What we will know in a couple of months, when Shannon has had an opportunity to advance this design, is more, and more will be shared. We don't have a choice today but to talk about 2 million. We're going to meet in January. Maybe Shannon has more to offer us in January. And then if something comes forward in February, perhaps that gets shared. Perhaps we even know so much more by the time this gets voted on. But we've got to start this process now in order to educate, to inform, and so that's what's happening right now.
Thanks, Paul. Yes, sir.
A vote against the assessment is a vote accepting that you could experience some liability from the homeowners of Camden Lake.
So the question was, well, not really the homeowners. So the question is, to repeat what somebody asked, could you vote no? The answer is yes, you could vote no. And how does that trickle down, right? The liability would be on most likely Lake Caroline, not the homeowners. The homeowners may come to Lake Caroline for some legal ramifications if it was not remedied. All right, that's what I meant for the liability for that. But Lake Caroline as a whole could potentially, if there is a breach and loss of life, and yes, you're right. This is serious. That's the reason that DEQ cannot afford for that lake to breach and flood people downstream. like I said, as far as ways Highway 22, we're not talking people right there on the lake, just, not just them. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, sir.
If everybody voted for option three, it would put Lake Caroline in a liability situation. Are you hearing me right?
So the question was, if the option three, and there was a no vote, then what is the liability for Lake Caroline? I'm not a lawyer, so I'll tell you what, we would definitely have to get more than one legal opinion on that one just to make sure, but we will definitely look at that as well.
I won't step into the liability, but let me make the statement about the risk posed by the structure. If the Lake Caroline Owner Association, as owner and responsible party for that dam, is not in position to move forward with repairs, what you're then doing is putting the state in a position of saying that we have to reduce the risk posed by that structure. And so it's not going to change the liability for anybody involved. If the dam fails, the dam is going to fail. People are going to be flooded. People could die. And then that's all going to come back to the owners, the Lake Caroline Owner Association. But what the state would do is, if we understand that there's no assessments in place, there's nothing to be done to pull together funding to do something to repair Camden, then we get in the position of saying, okay, we've got to look at reducing that water level. We are going to monitor this. And then once it gets to a position where we see that there are signs that is potentially, it could lead to failure, then we would have to say, all right, at this point in time, now it has to be drained and taken out of service. Yeah. Yeah. So it's that. And the period of time that it would take to get to that point, that we could be talking, 5-6 years down the line. But at some point, if there's not progress made towards that point, then the state's can be in position that we have to reduce the risk for those downstream.
One more thought on that, and I appreciate what Willie is saying, and I absolutely appreciate how engaged Willie has been in helping us. I want to reiterate what I said before. We, Lake Caroline owners, right, have been notified by the DEQ that dam is not in compliance, right? Now, should that dam breach, and should there be loss of property or life downstream from that, guess what? We've already been notified that it is not in compliance. We are not protected. There's nobody that's going to come in and help us out here. We own it. Right?
The other question, is there any insurance?
We're not going to be able to purchase insurance to protect us from our own negligence. No. I don't know how many of you, in business, but I'm going to repeat that. No one is going to protect you from your own negligence. We have been notified. We have been put on notice that this thing is not in compliance. Well, there is a grant that we will be applying for.
So the question was, the statement was, like it was 2016, I think it was March, that it was deeded to LCOA, and the high hazard classification changed, I think, in April 2016. That is the fact. I know there were inspections all along. There was, yeah, that's, so yes, Frida.
My concern is being asked to vote on option one our drainage is not done, there's no need in dredging Camden Cove.
So the question is, and Frida, thank you, saying that option 3 is not on the table because we have to fix the Camden Dam. So of option 1 and then option 2, when you look at option 2, there are some things that are wants based upon member survey versus necessities, want versus needs. Can we narrow option 2 down? That's definitely something we will look into as well. So everything is fluid, you know. Say it again. That Paulette, so all right, so what Paulette has said is a sentiment that we are hearing is that, look, I'm willing to fix option 1, vote on option 1 to fix the dam. I'm not willing to vote on option 2 for other stuff, want or need. And so it should be one or the other. So Paulette, yes, that's what we want to hear, because at the end of the day, we want either one yes or one no. And if everybody says, I want to vote to fix Camden Dam, and if we can get 67%, then y'all have spoken, and that's what's on the ballot. It's based upon what y'all, but we need to hear from you. That's right, yeah. So the comment was to do the other later. The main thing I want to make sure everybody knows is that this was put out there as options, and y'all decide what's on the ballot, okay? The board will hear from y'all, and we want our best chance to get the 67% and fix this dam. Yes, Bob?
I think this question is for Paul, and I may have misunderstood what he said, but he was talking about, this is what I understood him say, that the design build option is not feasible because you have to have a bid in order to get grants. So that's correct. The question is, design bid $300,000 less for this option, but the grant's not good enough.
Yeah, a great question, and I'm going to tell you what I think, and if you disagree with me, tell me. June 1 is when we have to have RFC documents in. Now those documents, Willie was kind enough to say 90%. That's a little softer than what I originally heard, but let's go with almost completely done. All right. We are looking at voting on a special assessment in mid-March. All right. I can't imagine engaging a construction entity after there's awareness of the funds being in place, which would be in the middle of March, and having RFC documents ready for the review of the grant in June 1. That's why we've gone ahead and hired Burns Cooley and hired Garver now, because it's going to be hard on them, the engineering side, to deliver by June 1. And then it's going to be very difficult on all of those of us that will be involved in this to get RFP out, to get bids in, to get notice to proceed in, and hit that tight window. I would have preferred to have had the luxury that time would have given me to get a contractor in to help maybe limit some of the cost. All you people get is me. All right, I'm a contractor, and I have attempted with Shannon and with DEQ to say the things that a contractor would say, to deal with constructability issues, just try to lower the cost. So it's a bit quasi design build. Am I any closer to answer your question? Time. It's time, Bob. I don't have enough time. We don't have enough time. It's irrelevant. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. Linda? Oh.
How much is the assessment, and for how long do we have to pay
The assessment, will you go to option one? The assessment or the timeline, either one, we want to get it done next year. So how much we're estimating, just as a 850 to 950 as an estimate. Again, this is all estimates based upon how it finally comes in. And it would be for next year, 2026. Vote on it in March and also pay because we have construction pre and post, you know. It hasn't been decided on the time frame nor when, and that's also based upon the construction and the build out. We don't want to tell you one thing and then come back and go, oh wait, we didn't realize it was going to do this. We need this much up front versus that much. So, but look, by the time you vote, all of this will be concrete, as much concrete as construction can be. So we wanted, like Paul said, this is just to get it started, let everybody know how serious this is, and to start thinking. And Linda, what else? Yes. Yes. So the question is, the special assessment, is that in addition to our regular assessment? Yes. And this is the first time that it's ever been done because we've never had a $2 million snap. Correct. Yes. Just thank you. That would be just for 1 year, and option one, all the funds would go directly to fix Camden Dam. All right, Mike Spooner. So the question is, could we borrow? And we did have that, could we borrow the money and, borrow now and pay later is the question. And the board has discussed that at length. It's less than ideal because we're kicking the can down the road and we got to, less than ideal, but we're open to listen to everything. Say it again. We don't think that's really a viable option because we have to have money in reserves to make sure that we're a healthy organization. So the finance committee, everybody has talked through that option and the board again last night, and it's just not a, yeah. We'll take it, but it's less than ideal. How about that? So, yes, Rebecca. Yes. Okay. So y'all hold up just a second. So Rebecca, yes. Thank you, Rebecca. So again, Rebecca was a very valuable member on the board, and that is the truth. What's the difference in borrowing and the ramifications would be, as every time we vote for an increase, it's because of a reason, and then we would have to continue to go up on the assessment as a percentage, which would be in turn a negative for people wanting to invest out here because it'd be ongoing versus a one-time less than $1,000 hit. So, look, let me ask y'all. Let's close this off at 7:30 because I know, out of respect of everybody here, it's 7:25. So a couple more questions. Yes, sir. Okay, do you want to come up and answer that? So that is an excellent question, and I'll tell you, I would like to bring Brandy Conoco up here. So the question is, we've increased it 10%. We've got 2 million. What other stuff are we spending money on that's not necessary, basically, and can we use that funding that are, pay your most important bills first, and we have this money, so why can't we use it to here, basically? Thank you.
Hi, I don't disagree with you, but what I will say is that there are a lot of important expenses depending on who you talk to, and they have smaller price tags. So for example, we could cut out all the landscaping, we could cut out all the dredging, we could cut out all of the capital projects, which are actually have been limited the last few years anyway, because of everything. We've basically done everything we can to get the budget down to a bare bones where you're still experiencing the same or close to the same Lake Caroline that you expect to have here. Should we not pass this assessment? Should we decrease expenses in other places? You're going to feel it a lot harder. And so that's where we are right now is you either make this decision about the special assessment or it's going to hurt a lot worse. And we're going to hurt in a lot of different places, landscaping, lights, utilities, the pools are going to have issues. So you have to make a decision about which things are more important, and this is just a big price tag item. So it's not something that we can cut $100,000 here and do a little bit. So that's where we are, though. So it depends on where you want to hurt. I'll add that we did a lot of cutting last year, and that's how we got our reserve healthy. The problem is, you know, I started a year and a half ago. At that point, the reserve was very, very small. So in the past year, we've expected higher expenses, so we've built the reserve up. We got the reserve study, and that's when we got a little bit scared because there's insufficient reserves for all of the amenities that we already have. So to take all of that money and put it towards Camden Dam will leave everything else in a hole. So we were already in a difficult situation before Camden Dam, before all these expenses increased. So that's where we are now is we have to maintain the amenities that we have while still approaching this giant project. I wasn't here. I'm doing the best I can since I've been here to try to make sure we don't spend a penny that we don't have to. Not everybody is in the same boat. I'm very much a penny pincher, though, and we are doing everything we can to tighten that up.
Thanks, Brandy. We need to find, so the question is, can the assessment be spread out over 3 years? And I do want to say that we're talking about, again, less than 1,000, most likely, okay, based upon the opinion of probable construction costs. So it's going to be less than 1,000, and we're going to have to pay before construction and at the end of construction. That's going to happen in 2026. So the other is just not ideal. We also have to have legal opinion if we can, based upon the covenants, spread it out because it does say within 1 year. So it's just, you know, it is less than $1,000. It is a lot, but it's less than 1,000, and we got to get it done. We did think about that. We sure did. And again, we're up front with y'all. We're trying to think of everything, quite honestly, to get 67% to get this thing to pass. You know, we need it. We need it to pass. That's the reason for all the options. So look, y'all, it's 7:30. Do me a favor. Please put your questions into contact us. We will continue like we did today. We've got some last ones in, and we will continue to publish the answers so everybody will have a voice and everybody knows what the other people are thinking. We do appreciate your turnout. Thank you.